As the plane climbed above the clouds, the cabin filled with the soft hum of engines and the distant chatter of passengers. Sarah settled into her window seat, clutching her book but glancing nervously at the weather outside. Storm clouds loomed ominously, dark and heavy, as the flight attendants began their safety demonstration. Halfway through the flight, the plane hit a patch of turbulence. The initial jolts were minor, but soon the aircraft began to shake violently. Passengers gasped, and the overhead lights flickered. Sarah gripped her armrest, heart racing. Then the lights went out. For a moment, there was nothing but darkness and the deep rumble of the storm outside. Panic swept through the cabin, and a few people began to murmur in fear. The emergency lights flickered on, casting an eerie glow over the anxious faces. Suddenly, Sarah heard a whisper, low and chilling, drifting from the back of the plane. "Help me!" The voice was faint but clear, sending shivers down her spine. She glanced around. Others seemed to hear it too, their expressions shifting from confusion to terror. The turbulence worsened, throwing the plane sideways. Sarah looked back toward the source of the voice, but saw only shadows. The flight attendants were trying to maintain order, but their calm demeanor felt strained. Then the voice came again, this time closer. "Help me!" Sarah felt an inexplicable pull. She unbuckled her seatbelt, her heart pounding as she walked toward the rear of the plane. The whisper grew louder, more insistent. "Please!" As she reached the last row, she froze. The air felt colder, almost unnatural. There, in the corner of the cabin, she saw a figure, a translucent silhouette of a woman, her face twisted in anguish. "Help me!" the figure cried, reaching out with a ghostly hand. Before Sarah could react, the plane lurched violently and the lights flickered back on. The figure vanished and the cabin erupted into chaos. People were screaming, the flight attendants were yelling for everyone to sit down, and the plane seemed to dive. In a matter of seconds, the turbulence subsided and the plane stabilized. Passengers were pale and shaken, but miraculously unharmed. Sarah returned to her seat, breathless and trembling. Had she imagined it? Was the voice real? After a tense hour, the plane landed safely. As passengers filed out, Sarah lingered, glancing back toward the rear. The flight attendants were already preparing for the next flight, their faces drawn but professional. But as she stepped off the plane, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been left behind. And somewhere in the depths of the sky, the voice still echoed in her mind. "Help me."